Hey, listener, just a quick message before we jump into the lore drop today. I am remote at a hotel right now, and so I do not have access to my typical podcasting equipment, so the audio quality is going to be a little strange. I apologize in advance. Once I get back home, future episodes will be recorded at a higher quality. Thank you for understanding. Hello and welcome back to Apaka Podcast. This is Erik, your game master, and today I am speaking with Jeremy again. Last time we met with him, we spoke a little bit about the continent of Kitakita. I believe I handed off the responsibility of shaping it from a weird ellipse into something that actually looked like a continent, if I recall correctly. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Jeremy is a player in the game, and his character is Relic. And so I think we're going to start out by creating a character sheet for Relic, and then we might transition into talking about what the past looked like before the collapse of society. What do you think, Jeremy? How does that sound?
The past. Sounds fun. Can't wait. And it'd be fun to make a character, too. I like getting things on paper.
So did I send you a character sheet?
I saw the two that you were toying with.
Oh, yes. So those are on the Patreon. Let me open that up here too. Yeah. So
Do I need one open, or are you just going to kind of fill it out?
I do not have pen and paper with me right now. Well, I mean, I can get pen and paper, obviously, but I have tiny little notepads because I am remote at a hotel right now. So we've got a couple options. We can just kind of take notes and pretend we're writing them in a box, or if you have a notepad, you can kind of sketch out what's just kind of like the information boxes. But for our listeners, if you go to patreon.com/easy as ABC, that will bring us to our Patreon page. And I believe it should be public. I believe the most recent public post is a photo of the different character sheet options that I've been playing with. One is filled out Danger Noodle, which is Justin's character. And then the second one is after we made Justin's character, I created an update. And so that's a nice blank character sheet.
All right. I got the Patreon pulled up just for reference, and then I can write things down as we go.
Beautiful. Yeah, so the new character sheet, after we had filled out Justin's character, I was looking at it and there was a place for everything, which I was happy with, but it wasn't space efficient. And so like for like high level characters, I think it was fine because you'd pretty much have something written in every single box. But for low level characters, you were going to have a lot of empty blank space. And so I tried to rework it a little bit to make it a little bit more space efficient and put some more information on there.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, I think I already gave you this feedback, but one thing I really liked was the current goal at the top, because I think that's me not being a RPG veteran. I think it's easy to get lost in these made up worlds, and so yeah, just having something simple like that, current goal, I think that's gold right there.
Yeah, thanks. That was one of the additions, adding a current goal. And then instead of having giant boxes for each type, I kind of shrunk it down. Oh, this one's even outdated already. I think I changed it on my local version. So I mean, I guess we'll just start from the top and work our way down. So we already know it, but I'll ask it anyway. What is your character's name?
My character's name is Relic.
Okay, and then Relic.
Yeah.
Can you give us a 2 or 3 sentence bio for him, and what do you think his starting goal would be?
That's a good question. I don't know what his immediate goal would be. I'll start with kind of him. So some of his specifics will be secret for now because I and he do not really know them quite yet. But yeah, he is an engineer. That is his trade, at least. So when he wakes up, he's going to have a name tag with his name, his department he works for, and the trade, being an engineer. So
Okay.
he's going to have not much information to go from. So name, engineer, and department security. So that's interesting because why does a security division need a engineer? But learn more about that, I guess.
So I'll jump in. I'll
um,
fill in a little bit more information because you and I have already talked about this, but Relic, his name is a little bit of a play on words because he is from the pre-collapse world, right? And then he is in stasis, and so he's going to wake up in this post-collapse society, and so he's a little bit of a relic because he's from the past.
so that is true. He is a relic of the past, and his the team that he worked with in the past that he's again not going to remember all the specifics of. They all had nicknames for each other,
Hmm.
and his nickname was Relic because he was kind of the old guy of the group.
We have layers on top of layers
So
here.
yes, yes, double. He's gonna be like, wait, so my name is Relic, and now you're gonna call me Relic because I'm old from the past? Like it's double, yeah, double Relic, I guess.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I think we started out with the concept that people from the past were just known as relics, and so I think we're going to play that up a
Yeah.
little bit. And there's going to be a lot of like who's on first, at least for like the first couple episodes.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so we've got name, we've got bio. I know what your current goal is going to be because I know how you enter the world, but we'll skip over that.
Okay.
And then we'll go to attributes. And so I renamed them a little bit to, I guess, for two reasons. One, to kind of gamify it a little bit, and the other was to save space. And so originally we started out, we had, actually, let me explain it this way. In game design, at least with RPGs, you have to think about the different modes that the game is going to work in. And so one mode is combat. Another mode are your social encounters, like having a conversation. And a third mode could be your exploration mode, where you're out in the wild, maybe exploring a dungeon or an ancient ruin. And so those are kind of like the three different game modes: your combat, your social encounters, and your exploration. And so the six different attributes break into those three different game modes. And so originally we had it called offensive and defensive combat, were two different skills. And so I just renamed them because it was awkward. So I just called it attack and defense.
Makes sense.
Then instead of offensive and defensive social, which isn't even like a logical idea, it was more of just like how do I wrap my head around these two different game modes, I decided to rename them. And so this character sheet, I'm going to put up an updated one. The one that's in front of us right now says savvy and discernment, but I renamed discernment to insight. Before we actually start the campaign, I may rename those two or three more times because I'm still not certain I'm happy with them. But for today, I think I will stick with savvy and insight. And so those represent the social encounter game mode. And then you have your body and your know-how, which I kept those names fixed. I'm pretty keen on them. So the hope is that they are more or less self-explanatory. Savvy and insight might be a little bit more cryptic, but I think the definitions of the words kind of clarify things a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Like, especially once you clarified kind of the three game modes, thinking in terms of that, it makes sense. So you just break it down. Each one has two subcategories: body and know-how. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I know I had picked out numbers. I think we started out with 9 points, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, so I know I had one in everything, so 6, and then I think I had 2 for know-how, 2 for body, and oh wait, no, I had 2 for defense. Now I have 1 point to spend. Where do I use it? What was body again? Kind of more like endurance and climbing.
So to break it up a little bit more, body covers pretty much all forms of movement, climbing, running, jumping, but it also covers kind of your physical robustness.
Okay.
this is a good time to move kind of one step deeper into the game system as we have our focus groups and our specialties. For the body attribute, there are three different focus areas. You can do finesse, which would be like running and acrobatics. You can do strength, which is obviously how strong you are, but it also affects your carrying capacity. And this is a survival game and at least some flavor. And so I tried not to lean too heavily on the inventory management mini game, but I didn't want you guys to be able to pick up 7 million things and shove it into your magical bag of holding forever, you know? This is a survival post-apocalyptic game, so there should be some aspect of inventory management. And so the higher your strength, the more stuff you can carry.
Okay.
And so adding to your body would directly increase that. And then the last thing is your tenacity, which I will use for initiative, right? And so for those of you who are unfamiliar with RPG game terms, initiative basically is just how quickly you react in combat, right? Once somebody says, I'm going to punch you in the nose, you know, how ready are you psychologically and physically to get into a fight?
All right, yeah, it makes sense. So I think that's what I had. So attack 1, defense 2, savvy 1, insight 1. Sorry, I already forgot what you renamed them. Body 2 and know-how 2. Because I think I had my focus and specialty in know-how, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. If I recall, you were going to do mechanical, right? Because know-how has three different focus groups. You have mechanical knowledge, digital or space age knowledge, and then nature knowledge, right?
Okay.
And so I think you were mechanical knowledge with a specialty in cybernetics, if I remember.
I know it was for sure. Yeah, for sure. The mechanical. I can't remember. And I definitely changed my mind a few times because I was like, oh, I think robotics would be cool. But also making wacky, post-apocalyptic guns would be cool. So I guess we can figure that out later. But for sure, mechanical, yes, because that is right on board with my character.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's 100% how this is supposed to work. Is the specialties are something that you get to pick individual to you, and it's supposed to be within your focus group. So if you have a focus group in mechanical, you are going to be better at building improvised weapons, building kinetic rifles, basically the kind of things that we have currently, right? You've got gunpowder style guns. And then if the digital know-how would be more like your space laser weapons. And so if you're looking for robotics, then definitely mechanical know-how would be your focus area.
Alrighty. What's next?
Okay. So we can move on. I'm going to skip over gear. We'll come back to that.
Alrighty.
And then the wounds we can probably talk about later. And so we're going to go to your boons and your liabilities.
Yes. I really should have just had my character sheet opened up. I know I shared that with you. Do you remember where that was?
Oh, the Google Doc, was that it?
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely had it. Let me find it too. I have a special folder in my shared drive called Shared Files from Jeremy.
just from me.
Yes, just for you.
Contributing too much.
No such thing. Oh no, this is my ideas about your character. Those are secret. I can't share those. I'll put that away.
Fine. Okay, yes, here we go. Oh, did I not write it down? Well, whatever. I know what it is. So my main liability is what I'm calling Rocket Raccoon Syndrome. And that is I will, at periodically random times and up to the GM, absolutely need something. I will see something and be like, I want that, I need it, how am I going to get it?
Oh, I love it.
And for really no reason, because it's pretty out of character even to just like suddenly need things, especially with coming from the past and having everything I need.
Right.
Well, I guess not anymore, but I'm used to having everything I need, so maybe that's what it is. Who knows?
Yeah, just talking it out. I wonder if there's like I mean, this will come up during the game, so it's going to be a little bit of a spoiler, but not a huge one. But the stasis process, it's not perfect, and so characters who are awoken in incorrect ways or after very long amounts of times suffer from amnesia. And so part of me wants to think that you're going to see these items from the past, and it's just going to like trigger something like a memory in your head, and you're going to be like, I need that. I remember liking that
Oh,
thing.
that's a good point. It could be things from the past to make it a little more consistent, I guess you could say. That would be a good point. Yeah, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in my mind, anyways, I had the whole stasis thing. Like they had used them at times in the past, but they were for short periods of time, and something I think went wrong, and I have been frozen for a very, very long time. So I'm sure I will have fun side effects, and not just amnesia.
Yeah, no, it's so the canon is that there was an estimated time for recovery from the apocalypse. I think I said 50 years. I don't quite remember right now. But it definitely takes much longer than that for the planet to recover from whatever happened. And so all of this technology that was designed to keep you in stasis was like, okay, well, if you're supposed to be in stasis for 50 years, then, maybe we'll make it to 60, 75, and then you'll wake up and, it's centuries later. And it's like, well, some people, the machine just broke down and they woke up. And it's like, huh, this is a weird place. And your character, I think, makes it a good chunk of the way because of your background, you probably have the best level technology. But in my head, there's kind of like economy and deluxe class. You know what I mean? Like in an airplane.
Yep.
And so you'd be like first class stasis pod, and there's some people out there with like economy class stasis pods. And so that's
Yeah,
one of
like I can walk around in mine. Yeah, and like a drink dispenser and stuff.
Well, it's not going to be that big. I just mean quality, like quality control. Extra, you might get extra leg room. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Okay, I got to go off on this tangent because it's just so cool. So I'm thinking about these stasis pods, and I was thinking about like how do they work? Because I know it's sci-fi and we can just wave our hands and say it's science. But I was thinking about like how would you design a stasis pod, and I started thinking back to cryogenics and all of the ideas about like Disney, how they like froze his body and things like that for Walt Disney. And I was thinking that these stasis pods would be these tall kind of glass tubes with like a reclining bed, so that the person could rest, and then have these cold fluid flow over their body to chill it down, right? Just like a continuous flow. And then I was like, well, what about on the inside? And so I was thinking about having these kind of like the air pilot, like for a jet fighter, those masks that the pilots wear that goes over your face.
Oh, yeah.
And it would pump in like liquid hydrogen or helium or something, like super cooled helium into your lungs to chill you from like the inside out. And then during the warming process, because you're warming up and because helium is a gas, it changes from a liquid to a gas automatically as it starts to warm up, and it just like evacuates your lungs by itself. Anyway, these are the thoughts that go through my head.
Yeah, that's cool. Reminds me of you ever see the like what 80s movie The Abyss? James Cameron. It's like one of his older movies. There's a scene where they have to, this one guy has to dive super deep, and they puts like a dive suit on, but because it's so deep and the pressures are an issue, they fill it with liquid oxygen or some kind of liquid that is breathable. And that scene for me was traumatizing because like you just watch his helmet fill up slowly, and then he has to take a breath of it, and the body's just like rejecting. Yeah, it's horrifying. Like I already don't like water in those capacities, and just watching that was kind of horrifying, but kind of reminds me of that.
Oh, yep. I can definitely see that.
I don't want to breathe liquids.
Oh, gosh, that's cool. Okay, back on track.
Yes.
Boons and liabilities. Every level 1 character gets 2 boons and 1 liability. We already talked about your liability, arbitrary collector, racket raccoon syndromes.
Yep.
Maybe we will make it things of the past, but I mean, here's the deal. Is for the most part, because I know you guys, I'm gonna leave these liabilities basically just up to role play. I'm gonna use these as prompts for myself and for you as to how to get plot hooks out there. or how to complicate what would be a normal situation. And so with your arbitrary collector, I might do it like you notice that this guy across the room has some ancient piece of technology and you think it's really cool and you want it now. And now I've put that plot hook out there, and for you, it's just kind of like a role play. What are you going to do with that? And the
Right.
hope
Okay.
is that it's going to draw you in to go talk to that guy. Maybe you'll trade with him, interact with him. And now that I have that engagement, we can, I can put the actual session plot out there and be like, oh, well, I'll trade this to you if you go out to this field and talk to so and so
Kill
about,
rats.
yeah, go
It's
get
always
50
killing
rat
rats.
skulls.
Kill 10 rats. Yes.
Yeah, level 1 missions.
If you do that, I will break the third wall.
Oh man. And then so the other thing would be like to cause tension. So like maybe you guys will be in like a negotiation. You're trying to negotiate peace between these two different tribes, and I'm like, it's a normal thing. You've already got your plan. It's like, yep, you're just gonna sign this document. You're gonna shake hands. Except you really want his necklace right now. And just to kind of throw a wrench in whatever would be a normal, regular plan. Um, but for actual game mechanics, the idea is that I'm going when you have a liability, all right. And so this isn't just for us. This is for anybody who wants to try the system in their own world. When someone has a liability, the game master has the ability to invoke that liability up to 3 times per session. And so when you invoke the liability, it puts an idea in somebody's head, right into the character's head, and any action that goes against satisfying that liability is going to take a -1 penalty. So, for example, during that negotiation scene, if you were to try and not, if anything you would do to give that away to somebody else, it would take a -1 penalty to do like a social roll or a combat roll or whatever. But anything you do to play into that liability, you do at your full capacity.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like bumper bowling.
Yeah.
Trying to help us steer in the right direction. Gotcha.
Yeah. I didn't want to take autonomy away from you and be like, you really want to jump off this cliff right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I might invoke that liability, but you don't have to do it. You're just going to take a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get that because the one time I did like a GM type thing, I even told the players ahead of time, like, look, this is the first time. I was like, it's gonna be pretty linear. Like, I'm gonna attempt to let you guys make your own decision, but I'm definitely gonna be steering it because it was a made up thing. It's like I can't be ready for everything, and I don't have the experience to just wing it. So yeah, I totally get that, especially with this entire thing being homebrew. So
Yeah. I don't know why we thought that was a good idea.
I enjoy it. So
It's been so much fun. It's just took what was supposed to be a let's get together on Thursdays into a 6-month project. Okay, so we got your liability, but let's talk about these
yes.
boons, right? And so these can be superpowers you have, these can be items you have, and you get either 2, what I'm calling small boons, or 1 larger boon, which is really just some agreement we have to get to about how useful something is.
Yeah, so I think we talked about it before, but I kind of kept hopping back and forth between my second boon, but the one for sure is my suit.
Okay.
So it's we've talked about it. It's got some all sorts of technology and stuff, so it's just generally helpful. We can work out the specifics as far as gaminess goes, but as far as character, it's just kind of like my what did I call it? Extreme environment engineering suit, right? So part of his duties were repairing these crazy large macro machines in all sorts of environments, like completely cryogenic and then practically molten hot environments. So like rebreathers, self-contained thing, environmental protection, and then some other little trinkets we can talk about later as I fix them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the details can be up in the air as far as what it looks like in game. Automated reflexes, stuff like that. But it's basically a extreme environment suit like a lightweight exo on the outside. So nothing serious. It just kind of helps take the weight of the suit off me. It's not like I can super jump or super run. It's just to help me move normally.
Yeah, yeah. And I love stuff
That
like
was
that.
that was more just artistic flavor as I was kind of messing around with some of the pixel art stuff and trying to figure out what it looks like in my mind. I just decided to have that kind of lightweight exo thing.
Nice.
And so yeah, that's definitely the one. And then I kept going back and forth between the second one, like what kind of weapon or like a little helper robot or something. I think I'm just gonna go with my laser cutter.
Okay.
So that would be, I think, my second one. And then I'm gonna have like just a combat knife with me as well. But yeah, I think the laser cutter. I think that'll be fun.
Okay. Did we ever release that pixel art?
I don't think so. I think I sent you a few just for fun, just as I was messing around with them.
Okay. We'll get back to that. We might have to tweet that.
Yeah, because I drew a bunch of them up. I kept iterating, couldn't figure out which one I liked the most. So I still have to make my mind up. I think I took a poll with a few of you guys, and the consensus was pretty much the same. So I think I know what I'm going to go with. So we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Let me know when you're ready to send that out into the world. I think people would be excited to see it. Okay, so in terms of the suit, I think I have that. Yeah, I took some notes on that because we have different kind of environmental things. I'm basically seeing this as a couple different ways. We'll have to figure out where in game it's actually going to be a benefit to you. That's the key that we have to figure out. I know there's certain areas like there's going to be like a radioactive north, and so if it offers any radiation protection, that would be a nice boon if you ever had to go up there. There's definitely going to be some cold regions. So here's where I'm kind of struggling. Is there's certain level of hand waviness when it comes to survival. So once we get through the first couple episodes of acclimating to this new world, I don't want to always be like, all right, it's cold tonight. Roll a tenacity check to see if you freeze. I'm going to assume that you're going to figure out some way to camp in the wild without having to worry about it every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to give you a benefit that you will be able to use during certain more frequently. I guess that's what I'm trying to go with. Okay. I mean, it can also be specific. Like I'm not against that. I don't want you to pick something and then it never comes up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and honestly, the environmental thing doesn't even have to be applicable. It's kind of more just headcanon for me. Like that's where I came from.
Yeah.
Because I think a part of the character thing is going to be that he just doesn't like taking it off. Like it's kind of his safety blanket in a way too. So even if it's just that, it's just there. And it is pretty stinking durable too. So like, hence part of the reason I picked the extra defense level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much that plays into the suit itself, but yeah, it doesn't have to be,
okay,
specifically environmental.
Okay,
There's other things that he's kind of tinkered with as far as the suit goes that we can talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's not just an engineer.
All right, I'm going to throw out a couple ideas then. The based on your description, I see a couple different ways to go. One is I could do something similar to Justin, right? You've got this suit. It can act as armor. Like I can give it to you as just like a level of body armor. And the way body armor works in the system is if you look at your wound chart, there's different circles, right? Some of them are solid, some of them are dotted circles. The solid ones everybody has. And then the dotted ones are kind of like upgrades you can take. And so one thing you could do is instead of having 3 fatigue circles, you could have 4 fatigue circles, where one of those represents the armor or this suit as armor.
Okay.
That's the other thing I renamed. Is it used to be called scratches, and then I changed it to fatigue. The idea being is that in combat you don't always have to be hit. Sometimes you're just exhausted from dodging. And so that's what the fatigue represents. And so that's one option. Okay. The other option is based on this hazard thing is I could give you bonuses to your tenacity checks to resist things. For example, poison, acid, cold, heat. We could go with that environmental, and we can scale it up. Like I can say, you just get this flat +1 bonus to resist heat, cold, radiation, whatever, um, representing the hazard resistance.
And honestly, we could, because we talked about, so as I come out of stasis, pretty much everything's broken as far as my gear goes. Um,
Yeah, we did talk about that.
so we could, this for now in the beginning, we could just say just the extra level for fatigue because it's just a physical protection,
Right.
and then worry about some of the specifics later, and I could fix them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the vision I had, is that you had all this wonderful technology and then for reasons it breaks down and you got to kind of repair it and build it back up. Um, so that that way you can visualize your perfect character and how overpowered he will be in the future. But you got to get there. Um,
Yes, yes.
so yes. Okay, so why don't we do that? Well, it's simple, but I like it. We'll give you an extra layer of fatigue armor, um, and then the other thing was your laser cutter. You've explained it to me? Can you explain it to the listeners so that they know what you're talking about? And I'm gonna look up a video to see if that can tweet that later.
Okay. Yeah, so again, kind of a lot of what my character does is he gets the basic, engineer stuff, so the suit, which is for work, and the laser cutter, which is for work, but he's not happy with them. He's going to tinker with them and upgrade everything pretty much. So it is a laser cutter. I can use it as a laser cutter, but I have modified it that I can really focus it and use it as a gun too. It's not some super weapon where I just pull the trigger and now there's two people, but it's going to hurt and it will cut through pretty much anything eventually. So
Okay.
how that looks in the game, I don't know. We could just treat it as a regular gun essentially, but I don't know how many of the people out there have seen the game Shipbreakers, but it's kind of a it really annoys me that's not in the Homeworld universe, but it apparently isn't, even though it looks like it is. But you're like this space deconstructor dude, and just ripping ships apart. And he has this sweet laser gun that you can set the beams with, and so you
Ooh.
can cut. Yeah, so you can cut like long straight lines and just kind of hack large sections off at a time. And that's kind of what I had pictured. Is like for work, that's what it looks like. All right, I need to cut this panel. I'm just gonna make 4 cuts and now I got a perfect square. But I can kind of focus it for more long range encounters if necessary.
I like it. I pulled up a thing, a ship. I pulled up a picture for a little demo of Shipbreakers. I'm going to send that to you. You can tell
Oh,
me if
nice.
that's what you were thinking about. Um, but what I'm thinking is that I'm actually going to extend this just a little bit, not just the gun, but also the battery pack to power it. The idea being that laser guns are great as long as they have power, right? If they don't have power, you can't shoot them. Um, and so if it's okay with you, I'll give you that weapon, and in addition, I'll give you some kind of power pack to go with it.
Okay.
I don't know how you want to connect those, if you want it like a permanent wire connection or whatever. And then I'm going to throw in basically a one-off use where you can add 1d6 extra damage to any attack with that gun. Basically, the idea
Okay.
being that this power pack dumps a ton of energy into it, and then because of your fun, I finagled with it and made it more powerful, you blast somebody. But you can only do that once per day because there's only so much energy in the power pack.
Right.
What
Makes
do you
sense.
think?
Yeah, no, I kind of had imagined because, again, kind of just going crazy, imagining all the fun things we could do. I had imagined some kind of onboard uh, power source that I could, even with newer things, kind of tap into. I had the idea of adding essentially a taser to my knife just for fun. So you could stab somebody and then tase them, even though it's completely out of order.
Add insult to injury.
Yeah, exactly. Just stuff like that. He's not happy with standard issue things. So But then it's like a one shot thing, so I can kind of reach behind, give it a charge, and then I get one tase, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like a small onboard battery. But yeah, kind of because again, how else do you kind of manage power?
hmm
Just finding batteries everywhere is kind of ridiculous. So
Yeah, we can. After we finish up your character, we wanted to talk about the future, and so we're kind of bridging that
mhm.
gap a little bit about what kinds of technology we have. And one of the things I was thinking about was about energy generation. Um, so actually, I'm going to leave that for now. We'll save that for when we talk about what the past actually looked like, and
Okay.
we can revisit it then. Okay. So there you go. There's your two boons and your liability. You've got your environmental armor, um, and so what you can do is under your well, you're just taking notes. But if you had your character sheet under your boons and liabilities, you would put you know environmental armor and then some description that you got like +1 fatigue box or something, and you can fill
Okay.
in that dotted circle so that you have 4 check boxes for fatigue. And then you'll have your second boon is your um, laser cutter and battery pack or something, whatever cool name you want to come up with it.
Yeah, I can come up with something fun.
Um, and I'm rolling back a little bit. When I spoke with Justin, I said that he would get his venom. I said 3 uses per day. I'm going to roll that back for now. He's going to get 1 use of venom per day, which adds 1d6 damage, and you're going to get 1 use of battery energy per day, which adds 1d6 damage. And this isn't at all what I meant. You guys are basically the same character, but not the same character in terms of your boons.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's only so much you can do at level 1. So if we want to differentiate, we can always revisit this. It might just be that it's in my head that this makes sense, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's fine because as things go on, I'm sure they'll become pretty different.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then you got your liability, which is your arbitrary collector.
Yep. Yeah, that should be interesting too.
Cool.
Sure. So that'll get me into trouble.
That's the hope. That is the hope and
So
the intention.
it looks like there's a time limit on Google Meet too. Who knew?
Yeah, they're following suite with Zoom. Um, let's take a couple minutes. I want to talk about one other thing, and then we can rejoin and talk about the past.
Okay.
Um, okay, and so the last thing I wanted to touch on is bulk and carrying capacity. Um, and so if you look at that gear sheet, um, that's one of the things I added to the character sheet is there was no inventory spot before. And so now there's a little gear box to the right of your focus groups. And so the
Mhm.
first one is filled in for you because one of the rules of ABC is that everybody can always carry a primary weapon. Like, I didn't want people consuming their inventory with essential equipment. Um, and so that first bullet, that can be your laser cutter, right? Um, and then your armor, right? So you can, because your armor is associated with a boon, you also get to carry that for free. And so you can fill in a second circle and just write your environmental armor there if you want. And I think that's all. Those are both of your boons. And then your body stat was a 2, right?
Yep.
So then, in addition to that, you would fill in 2 more circles, and so you'd have essentially a carrying capacity of 4, right? You could have 4
Okay.
items. You have your laser cutter for free, you have your environmental suit for free, and because you have a body stat of 2, you can carry 2 more things with you, and that would be like your extra batteries for your laser cutter, if we go that way, or whatever miscellaneous items you want to put in there. So
Yeah, he's gonna have a big combat knife too. So
nice.
something between a gladius and a large combat knife.
I love it. Yep. So exactly, that would be one of your item spots.
Sweet.
Okay. I think that is all the time we have for today. Thank you, Jeremy, for taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us about Relic. And thank you, listener, for tuning in to this episode of Apaka Podcast Lore Drops. Next time we meet, we will have a very informal talk about what Kita Kita was like before the apocalypse. This is the ABC GM signing off. I'll see you next time.